Hey, what's up everybody? It's Roo Tech, and today we're talking about the best $500 Fortnite Warzone gaming PC for March of 2020. Now, Fortnite and Warzone are the top battle royale games currently on the market, so I understand that they're pretty popular games and there are going to be a lot of people looking for strong gaming PCs that'll be able to handle these great games. I've been playing Warzone a lot recently, not too much Fortnite, but I know it's still very popular among gamers, so I wanted to get this build out specifically for those two games so you can get very good frame rates. With this build, you'll be able to get above 60 frames per second, so if you're using a 144Hz monitor, there will be a very noticeable difference. You won't have to worry about being stuck in the 60 frames per second range. So you no longer need to spend over $600, $700 to game in over 60 frames per second. You can easily use the graphics card we're using in this build to game at around 100, 110 frames per second, especially on Fortnite and Warzone. So yeah, before we get straight into the video, I'd really appreciate it if you like the video and possibly subscribe. Really helps out the channel. Also, if you have any comments or questions as you watch the video, be sure to drop a comment below and I'll try to get to you as soon as I possibly can. So for the CPU, we're using AMD's Ryzen 5 2600 3.4 GHz 6-core processor. So this is a very, very good processor. Ryzen has always been extremely solid for gaming, and this is especially the case because we're pairing a Ryzen processor with an AMD video card, so there's going to be very, very good optimization. Also, it's Ryzen 5, not Ryzen 3, so for a budget build, you're getting a pretty strong processor. I actually have a friend who's using the Ryzen 5 2600, and her PC is running perfectly smooth. It's a very snappy processor, so even for things aside from gaming, you'll be able to run extremely fast and snappily. Anyway, onto the motherboard. We're using ASRock's B450M R4.0 MicroATX AM4 motherboard for $64. Now this is coming from Amazon, so you can expect to get this part pretty quickly if you order it right now. So for $64, you're getting a B450 motherboard, which means you won't have to worry about any BIOS upgrades when installing the CPU. Not much else to say about this motherboard other than it'll hold all our parts together, and it also is future-proof, so if you want to upgrade in the future, you absolutely can. For the memory, we're using Team T-Force's VULCAN Z 2x8 GB DDR4 3000 MHz memory for $63. So for Warzone, it is recommended you have, I believe, around 12 GB of RAM installed, so I decided to go ahead and make this build 16 GB instead of the normal 8 GB when you're looking at budget builds. Now, another reason I wanted to do this is because 8 GB of RAM is actually turning out to be not enough anymore in 2020. So if you want to have a gaming PC that'll last you for upcoming games, you're definitely going to want to have 16 GB of RAM instead of the usual 8. As a matter of fact, I currently have 8 GB installed in my own gaming PC, and I plan on upgrading to 16 very, very soon because of this. Next up, for the storage, we have two different devices for our storage. We have a hard drive and a solid state drive. So first, let's talk about the hard drive. We're using Western Digital's Caviar Blue 1TB 7200 RPM internal hard drive for $40. Now you're going to see this hard drive in a lot of other gaming PC builds if you're looking at other videos. This is pretty normal to have in your build, especially because it's cheap, reliable, and is an entire 1 TB, which is a lot of storage to hold a lot of different games. And Modern Warfare and Warzone together are 150 GB, so it's important that you have a lot of storage available for other games that you want to get. I was going to put a 500 GB hard drive in this instead, but I decided to throw this in because games are getting a lot bigger nowadays, and again, I want this to be a future-proof build. Next up, for the SSD, we're using Inland's Professional 120 GB solid-state drive for $27. I use this SSD in my build, so I can promise you it's a very reliable and fast SSD. This is where you're going to want to install Windows 10 and any other files you want fast access to. Next up, the part you've probably been waiting for, the video card. We're using Gigabyte's RX 570 4GB gaming video card for $120. Now, the RX 570 has been, in my opinion, all reliable for a very long time. It's a very great graphics card. It'll easily be able to handle games like Fortnite and Warzone and many others, both modern games and games that are coming out in the future. Now for Fortnite, you'll easily be able to get above 100 frames per second, so you're probably going to be in the 120 frames per second range. Now it all depends on what settings you're using, but I can guarantee that this will be able to handle the game at above 100 frames per second. Now for Modern Warfare, It'll also be able to handle the game at above 100 frames per second, but the catch is you're probably going to want to lower your video settings, so you're going to have to run at medium to low settings if you want to get around that 100 frames per second. But if you want it to run at ultra, you'll get around 60 to 70 frames per second. You'll still be able to get above 60, which is what most people worry about when getting gaming PCs. So not to worry, even if you're running at ultra, this video card will still be able to run your game at above or around 60 frames per second consistently. Next up for the case. Didn't have too much room for getting a fancy case as most of the money was spent on the parts, but we're using HEC's HX210 MicroATX mini tower case for $30 from Newegg. Now, what I liked about this case is it has a huge window on the side, so you'll be able to see all your cool parts inside of your PC. It also has a glass on the front, and I'm pretty sure you'll be able to install your own fans on the front if you want like RGB fans, which looks really cool. I actually have that on my PC. It has a glass pane on the front. Decided to install some light up fans in the front. It looks really, really cool. But yeah, this is a big enough case. It's actually a MicroATX mini tower case, so it's made for the size of the motherboard that we're using. So it'll be a bit of a smaller case, but nonetheless, it looks normal and it'll allow for more room on your desk, which honestly is a pro in my opinion. Finally, the power supply. We're using EVGA's BR 450 watt 80 plus bronze certified ATX power supply for $47. Now, a couple months ago, power supplies were pretty cheap, but for some reason, they've been getting a little more expensive as time progresses. Fortunately, this power supply has a $5 promo, so if you're going to buy a part first, I recommend you get this power supply first, as you don't want to miss out on the promo. It's also a very good power supplies from EVGA, and it's 80 plus bronze certified, which means it guarantees above 80% of all 450 watts that your gaming PC will require. And even if it goes below, the estimated wattage for this build is 319 watts, which is perfectly in range for what this power supply can provide. Also, this power supply allows for upgrades. So if you want to, for example, upgrade your CPU or install more RAM, this power supply can easily support that. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this build, guys. If you have any comments or questions, drop a comment below. If you like the video, be sure to drop a like, it really helps the channel. Also, if you like the content you're seeing, drop a sub, that also very much helps out the channel. And yeah, thanks for watching. Peace out.